Welcome to chapter 35 of the book of Numbers. The untimely death of a human by the hands of another human was a very serious matter to God, and he made that known to the Jews. In this chapter here, we'll see how he deals with this circumstance. And the Lord spoke to Moses upon the descent of Moab by the Jordan across from Jericho. We showed that before, right north of the Dead Sea, saying, "Give orders to the sons of Israel." Again, the imperative with this short giving orders, and then what the order is, "And they shall give to the Levites from the lots of their possession cities to dwell in, and the outskirts of the cities round about them you shall give to the Levites." Now, the tribes are all divided. The 12 tribes are dividing all the land. 3.5 tribes are on the eastern side of the Jordan. And in their areas, they are to separate certain places and cities, and these cities belong to the Levites. Sort of reminds me of the Vatican City in Rome, where it's dedicated to the Roman Catholic Church. But here we had more than just one. And it says, "And the city shall be to dwell in. And their separation offerings of lands will be for their cattle and all their four-footed animals. And the lands falling in with the cities which you shall give to the Levites shall be from the wall of the city and outside 1,000 cubits. And now he goes in and shows that the size of the city, whatever it is, outside of the walls of the city, a certain period, a certain length or width, breadth of area from the city wall is to belong to the Levites. And it says a 1,000 cubits, so a cubit is 18 inches, so it's 18,000 inches. And, well, you can figure it out. I should have figured it out. I don't have my calculator right here. "And you shall measure outside the city the side towards the Anatolas, the east." Anatolia was the country of today called Turkey, east of Greece, where this language was developed. And so they said, instead of saying east, they said Anatolas. That would be east. And even though this other country became known as Anatolia, east. 2,000 cubits, and the side towards the south, 2,000 cubits, and the side towards the west, 2,000 cubits, and the side towards the north, 2,000 cubits, so that's 36,000 cubits, 18 cubits to a foot. So would that be, let's see, 36,000. My math is terrible, as I've mentioned before. In the city, you're probably sitting there groaning, saying, "Oh, no, this is what it is, this is what it is." "And the city between this will be to you and the adjoining areas of the city." Well, I went to the calculator, and I couldn't stand not being able to figure out what it is. I show it's 3,000 feet. A football field is 300 feet. So quite a ways out. That's their joining areas where all these animals will live. Now, the reason for these cities to the Levites is as follows: "And the cities which you shall give to the Levites are the 6 cities of the places of refuge." The Sfiga, we have a fugitive comes from that word, even though this is Tyrion means a place, generally. So cities of places of refuge, which you shall give for the one manslaying to flee there. And in addition to these, 42 cities. All the cities which you shall give to the Levites are 48 cities, these and their outskirts. So there's going to be scattered all around this area, these Levitical cities. And the cities which you shall give from the possession of the sons of Israel, from the ones having many will be many, and from the ones having less will be less, each according to his inheritance, which they shall allot, shall give from the cities to the Levites. So apparently the area of the tribes that are large, that have a larger area, will have more of these Levitical cities than a small area for a small tribe. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the sons of Israel, again now another one, and you shall say to them, You are passing over the Jordan into the land of Canaan, and you shall draw apart to you cities for them. Now, I put this here because it was to remind me that I forgot to put the number there, the polis. The number is the same as 4172 should be in there. It will be places of refuge to you for the manslayer to flee there. Anyone striking a soul unintentionally, that's the key. And they will be cities to you as places of refuge from the one acting as next of kin for blood, hemoglobin, that in no way should the one manslaying die until whenever he should stand before the congregation for judgment. So apparently, this is all would be very interesting to a lawyer, I suppose, how they did this. But so they would take this person that was killed by someone else. They take the person that did the slaying and put him in front of the congregation for a judgment, some type of a jury. And the cities which you shall appoint, the 6 cities, will be places of refuge to you. So apparently out of all those cities, 6 of them were these places of refuge. 3 cities you will appoint on the other side of the Jordan. So that would be over where Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh were. And 3 cities you shall appoint in the land of Canaan. And now the other cities were not apparently places of refuge. They just belonged to the Levites. A place of refuge it will be to the sons of Israel and to the proselyto, the proselyte, the foreigner, and to the sojourner among you. These cities will be for a place of refuge to flee there, to all striking a soul unintentionally. And if by an item of iron one should strike him, and he should come to an end, he is a murderer. Unto death let the murderer be put to death. Now apparently this would be intentional. And if by a stone from out of the hand in which one should die by it, then the one who should strike him, even he should die. He is a murderer. Unto death let the murderer be put to death. And if by an item of wood, a hammer of some type of wooden instrument, from out of his hand of which one should die, and he should strike him, and one should die, he is a murderer. Until death the murderer shall die. And the one acting as next of kin for blood, and now how they determine that I'm not exactly sure, this one shall kill the one manslaying. Now, it doesn't say whether if he doesn't want to kill him for some reason what happens, but the one next of kin is to kill him, shall kill him. Whenever he meets him, this one shall kill him. And if through hatred he should thrust him through, or should cast upon him any item by ambush, and he should die, or through vehement anger he strikes him by the hand, and he should die, to death let the one striking be put to death. He is a murderer. So killing another person is considered murder. Now, no place in here is to talk about the person striking is not the person of the next of kin. Putting to death the one striking is not the murderer. So people today, liberals think that taking a life of someone that has been found guilty of a capital crime and the state can put him to death because it's a death penalty, that therefore that they're committing murder. But now it's not the case at all. They are required to do that. The one acting as next of kin for the blood shall kill the one man slaying in the meeting up with him. So that person is to do the slaying. But if suddenly he should not thrust him through, nor not by hatred, this is sort of like manslaughter, which we would call manslaughter, or cast upon him any item not from ambush, or any stone in which he shall die by it, not knowing, see the not knowing here, and he should fall upon him and he should die, but he was not his enemy, that is the person doing the slaying, nor seeking to do evil against him, I don't know, maybe pushing him away and he fell and hit his head, then the congregation shall judge between the one striking and between the one acting as next of kin for blood, according to these cases. So they'll determine whether it's intentional or not intentional, and if it was worthy of the death penalty. And the congregation shall rescue the one man slaying from the one acting as next of kin for blood. So the one doing it unintentionally, they can protect him. It says here, and the congregation shall restore him into the city of his place of refuge, of which he took refuge. So if the person accidentally killed somebody, and they found that was an accident, but yet he did kill, then they take that serious, but that person can go to a city of refuge and live there, and the one of next of kin for blood cannot do anything to him, or should not do anything to him. And that person that did the slaying shall dwell there until whenever the great priest should die, whom they anointed him with holy oil. And that was the great priest in Jerusalem and here at the temple, the tent. But if by an exit of the one man slaying should come forth from the borders of the city into whichever he took refuge there, and the one acting as next of kin for blood should find him outside the borders of the city of his refuge, and the one acting as next of kin for blood should slaughter the one man slaying, he is not liable. So if the man decided, well, he's been there 20 years and doesn't think the next of kin cares anymore, he's heard they're dead, he leaves and goes out, gets a job, is working there, but all of a sudden the next of kin for blood shows up and does kill him. The one slaying is not liable. For in the city of his refuge let him dwell until the great priest should die. And after the dying of the great priest, the one man slaying will be able to return unto the land of his possession. Now I was thinking, well, this is a kind of a terrible place for the man to be that committed this manslaughter. He has to go to the city, and the people are going to know, if he is a person that's under the possibility of being slain by the next of kin for blood. And if he is, they could take advantage of him very easily by not giving him any good jobs or paying him less and so forth, and he'd have to suffer for a long time. This is what I would see as a possibility. And these things will be to you for an ordinance of judgment unto your generations and all your dwellings. So the judgment has to do with this ordinance. Not all ordinances have to do with judgment. It would be like today, a judgment. Well, I suppose if it went to the courts, it would be a judgment. But the ordinance itself can stand. We have an ordinance of going 30 miles an hour, But yet if you go 40 miles an hour, yes, you're breaking the ordinance, but you're not in judgment yet because you haven't been caught. All these things will be to you for an ordinance of judgment to your generations in all your dwellings everywhere in Israel. Everyone striking a soul with witnesses. So there has to have a witness there. You shall slaughter the one man slaying. That is a murderer. Then people witnessed it. And one witness shall not witness for his soul to die. So there has to be two people that have seen or more that have been witness and swear that this man killed somebody. And you shall not take ransoms. Now, I don't know if that still holds today in the United States or not. Of course, now you have cameras and so forth, so everything is a little bit different. And you shall not take ransoms for a soul for the one murdering. So if the one who did murder in the next of somebody, a relative, wants to bail him out so he wouldn't be killed and give the next of kin for blood $1 million, you can't do that. The one being liable is to be done away with, not gotten free or freed from paying a ransom of money. For unto death he shall be put to death. And you shall not take ransoms for the one fleeing into a city of the places of refuge, to again dwell into the land until whenever the great priest should die. So a relative can't come and bail him out of the city so he can come back to his land. He has to stay there until the great priest dies. And in no way should you pollute with murder the land upon which you dwell upon it. For this blood pollutes the land by murder. It's a terrible thing. God hates taking of blood, and the land shall not be atoned from the blood having been poured out upon it. Whatever happens is going to be determined by God, but it shall be upon the blood of the one pouring it out, whether it's either on purpose or not. So God taking another life very serious, and even though the government may not, God does, especially with Israel. And you shall not defile the land upon which you dwell upon it, of which I should encamp among you. He's going to be there because he mentions he walks about the camp. For I am the Lord encamping in the midst of the sons of Israel. Chapter 36, our next video seminar, a transfer of the tribal lands, and we'll find out all about this land transfer in our next video seminar, and hope you'll join us. Until then, God bless.